environment, cultural norms, and others that affect mental health. This Friday on Creole Habits, a full crew sit into the culture of Dominica.
Yes, sir. Sakaimala, Prince Madix, Prince Madix, Prince Madix, Prince Madix. Papua wete ba moun plena yo moja kite la vi. Akwiti sa yo kafe ko yo apami nou jodi.
Spécial. Bonjour pour tout le monde, à tout la Dominique et aux Antilles. C'est un grand plaisir pour nous là, comme ici, nous regardons. Bienvenue sur Paul Sancier Creole Heartbeat pour notre émission. Et puis, nous vraiment contents là, aïe, villa très chaud. Mamma mia, c'est weekend Pentecost, Pentecost weekend. On pile de filles, on even m'a passé, des Pentecost, à Good Hope, Sanso, et puis les tout frères, à Guambé aussi. Pile différent even m'a passé monsieur poésie point tranquille monsieur pas pour pièce débat pièce troca. As we say good morning to you, welcome to another edition of Creole Habit, and we are very privileged to have a consultant psychiatrist with us, and she has been in demand, especially of late. We have been seeing quite a bit of challenges. Some of our youth has come into quite a bit of the challenges of the day. And we may just get some tips as to how to deal with those and actually get a better explanation as to what's going through us, what's going through our minds, what's going through our family members. And if you see any signs, she will actually tell us what to do. If we see any signs or symptoms of any of those ills. Good morning to you, Dr. Nadia Wallace.
Good morning, Radix. How are you?
Man, it's so good to be actually interviewing a very good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Go way back. Long way. From school?
Yes.
From college.
That's many years ago.
I know. And how are you? How have you been doing?
I'm doing well, but before, let me just greet the listening public.
No problem.
Good morning to everyone who is listening in Dominica and abroad. I'm really happy to be here this morning. I know we've been trying to do this for some time now, and it's finally happening. Yes.
I'm very excited. I'm very happy that we can finally come together and actually educate our nation as to where we are, what are we going through, what's happening to us. Mm-hmm. And recently, Mental Awareness Month was celebrated in May. Tell us what are some of the activities which took place.
Yes. So, as you rightly said, last month we just finished World Mental Health Month, and the Department of Social Services, they actually had a panel discussion, recognizing that so many aspects are involved when we think of mental health. So they focused on the clinical aspect of mental health, the spiritual aspect of mental health, the financial aspect of mental health, pharmaceutical, and there was someone with lived experience. And so we had this discussion, and I think it was well received. It generated a lot of discussion, a lot of knowledge, and all with the hope of raising awareness, recognizing how important mental health is. And all of us will agree, and that's something I always say, especially us in Dominica, having had the hurricanes and tropical storm in the past years, and then COVID. So we're aware of the importance of having good mental health.
Absolutely. And as we delve into our area of discussion this morning, mental health versus mental disorder.
Yeah. I always like the definition of mental health that the World Health Organization gives, where they believe that mental health is the ability for one to realize their ability. They also to be able to manage their stressors, for them to be able to work productively and to be able to contribute to the community I always love this. So in other words, mental health, it's about our well-being. It's about our functioning. It's about our positive functioning, being able to have a sense, that good sense of being, having good, strong relationships, being able to be resilient, and mental health affects the way we think, it affects the way we feel, it affects the way we behave. So when we think of mental health, we think of all these aspects functioning in a way that we're able to have our daily functioning, you meet whatever needs that we're able to meet. Mental health, it's one of the aspects of health. It's a component of health. And a lot of times people use mental health and mental disorder interchangeably, but they are different. When we think of mental health, we think of well-being, and as opposed to mental disorder, which is different. All of us, we go through challenges, and we deal with our challenges in different ways, right? And when we have distress, be it mild or moderate, we will have, it's normal that in response we have feelings like, let's say, frustration, anger, sadness. This is normal. However, if the distress is persistent, if it's there constantly and it's tense, then we may have impairment in our functioning, and that is when we think of having a mental disorder. Yes, so that's the
So
difference.
basically, there's a thin line. There's a very thin line between the mental health and mental disorder, because at some point in time, possibly we all go through some level of mental
All of
disorder.
us. So it's on a continuum where we move from good mental health, and before challenges that we encounter, we go along that continuum at any time of our life, and we may have a mental disorder.
And anything can cause a mental disorder.
Anything.
Anything
It
can
does not
cause.
take much. None of us is immune to it. None of us is immune to it. And again, there are so many factors that contribute to the way we respond, and to we deal with our mental health.
Absolutely. We have been seeing a surge in mental disorder in the young people, and even resulting in some of them taking their life, suicide.
Yes.
What do you think attributes to that level of mental disorder until one feels that he no longer needs to live? I mean, just kind of break it down for us. What could cause, let's say, or some of the things, or some of the factors that could cause a young person, school age, early 20s, going through so much turmoil, so much challenges, that they eventually want to just give up?
You see, I will state here that a lot of times we don't believe that young people have mental health issues. We believe that it's something for adults. It's a young person, we'll see the reactions, etc., and we'll just brush it off as nothing. But young persons also suffer with mental health disorders, and it's very frequent to find disorders like anxiety, depression. You also have behavioral problems, behavioral issue, and young persons also have suicidal ideas, right? And when it comes to finding, what contributes to this, there are different factors. We have individual factors, we have social factors, and we have all the specific disorders that they suffer from. So when we look at the individual factors, we focus on things like the genetic, the family history, and the person's genetic predisposition. We have different vulnerable.
In other words, if one has a family history, mother, father, grandparent, also with some mental disorder, there's likelihood
We're at
the
an
person may be
increased risk.
susceptible
Totally.
to some
suffering.
mental disorder,
Yes.
suffering from mental disorder.
Yes, so you'll be more vulnerable if you have the family history or if you have the predisposition. And I always say it does not necessarily mean that you will have it, but it just increases the risk. And we also think of the person's experience, their personal experience. And when we think of the youth, we can think of so many. We have things like shifting, meaning moving from one home to the next.
Yeah.
We have issues of abandonment, where children are abandoned by their parents. We have issues of abuse, be it physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. We have those issues. We also have situations like bullying. And remember, the young person at that age, they are going through so many changes in their lives. They have hormonal changes. They're trying to assert themselves. They experiencing different things. They're experimenting. They're trying to have autonomy. So many things happening. They're trying to fit in. They're trying to understand who they are, and to know. So all this, when you think of all these
But
factors,
bullying seems to be very, very prevalent,
yes,
especially
Yes.
in our society. Very common, and even more difficult is to report. Whilst it's very prevalent, it is even more difficult for anyone who is been bullied to report they are being bullied, even to their parents.
Yes, that happens a lot. I see quite a bit of young people coming in with history of bullying, and a lot of time they don't say anything to their parents.
Wow.
And I have to say, but you're going through this. You need to communicate what's happening with your parents. You are not alone. Your parent can protect you. And there are times also it's reported to the parents and the parents don't do anything about it. So I see a variety, but it needs to be taken seriously. And when a child experiences bullying, it needs to be dealt with because it can affect that child in so many ways. You'll see behavioral changes. Some of them get anxious, them get depressed, they start feeling like they're all alone, have this feelings of hopelessness, their academic performance it declines, and before long they withdraw. It affects so many aspects of their lives. So yeah, so bullying is a serious problem. And in addition to the bullying, another factor that I've noticed is the sexual abuse,
Sexual abuse.
child sexual abuse.
Wow.
Yes, this
Abuse by
is
elderly,
abuse by family
family members,
members,
sexual abuse.
sexual abuse. Yes,
I understood this is very, very common.
it is. I'm seeing quite a bit of it.
Mhm.
Quite a bit of it. And when I see it is after the child attempts suicide. So that's when they reach to me, and when I in intervention, a lot of times that's when they will disclose what's going on with them. And that's when we'll find out that that child is being abused. Sometimes we find out that the child disclosed that they were being abused to their parents, their mother, and they will not believe them. The mother sometimes will tell them that's not true, or they will blame them for what happened. So when that's happening, the child just stays in, and she get to the point where they feel so overwhelmed, and the last resort they feel it's better if they're not there, and they blame themselves for this. Sometimes there is fear of saying anything to the family for fear of causing disruption because the family will look like a perfect family, like everything is going all well and good.
I give a reputation.
Yes, so they'll be fearful of saying anything to their parents and they will just keep it to themselves. So we have that, and it's very.
I also
it is
understood
quite
that incest
frequently.
is also very prevalent.
Yeah,
I mean, why are we scared to talk about those ills? I mean, why would and DJ Shan you could come in because I like to include him. I like to include him. He's a young guy and he's out there. Feel free to come in at any time. But then, why would a father want to play with his daughter? And sometimes I understood also might also want to play with his boy.
it goes both. I was about to say it's not only it goes
This
both.
and this is something that is going on, and most times it is not reported.
Yes, a lot of
And
times
then the
it's not
children
reported or
are
underreported.
the children are like zombies going through the daily life with that level of ill within them, not knowing what to do, how to navigate through that, and sometimes the end product is suicide.
They feel ashamed. They feel embarrassed. And imagine too, Wadik. So this is happening at home. Then when they go to school, they're taught about good touch, bad touch,
Wow.
right? And then they realize, but what was happening all along? This
I know.
is bad touch.
Yeah.
And then how do they react to that? They go carrying this sense of guilt, this burden, and to say to then they'll feel guilty.
Yeah.
They'll blame themselves. They'll be ashamed to say anything to their parents, especially if the parent is one that they cannot speak to,
Yeah.
or if the parent is one that they know they're going to blame them. And even I think sometimes the parents they are aware, and they're aware and will contribute to this happening, so that the person, because if the person is supporting them,
They protect the perpetrator.
yes, because if they
Possibly,
ruffle anything,
maybe that perpetrator may be
is the
the
breadwinner,
breadwinner of that
right?
family, and then if he disrupts
They don't want to
that link
disrupt that.
of survival, and all of a sudden survival it becomes more
But
challenging.
at whose expense?
Oh.
At the expense of your child.
Yeah.
So this situation.
This is real.
It is. It is real.
And
It
you
is
get
real.
cases of
I get
this.
cases like this all the time, especially, and as I said, they will come to me after they've attempted suicide. But the worst thing is having the family, because we have family integrative therapy sessions where we bring in the family members. And when sometimes even right there, when the child says that to the mother sometimes they still say, "You lie."
In the
Even in the
presence of the therapist, a therapy
Yes.
session, and the mother is
Yes.
still in denial,
I don't
and the
believe you.
child is actually saying what is actually going on, and the mother is in denial.
Continues to say, "I don't believe you," and the child is there crumbling in front of them, but they insist. So it's painful to look at those
Then
things once.
the ailment or the illness is with the child and also with the mother, because that level of denial, you have to be sick. You
Sometimes
cannot be normal.
sometimes the mother, and I'm not making an excuse for the mother, but you're right. Sometimes the mother or the parent themselves, they have their own problems dealing with, their difficulties dealing with, and it makes it difficult. Sometimes they themselves are being abused,
Yeah.
and they're in a state of helplessness, that they can't even do anything. So they can't help themselves, they can't help their children. So that happens sometimes.
Finance. This is a very critical one, especially when your income is less than your expense, or you barely make it. It's almost tough to make it, to make ends meet after your bills. You hardly have any disposable income. This causes a lot of stress.
So I have those situations too, where you have a parent who has 5, 6 children, not working. They have to leave the child and to go out to try to, to get support for that child. But at the time, then the child stays unattended to. The child is left alone. The child is at risk also of being, abused. And sometimes they're left alone to look after each other.
Wow.
So I've seen cases like this also. And what is, yes, finance may be an issue, but we have to think sometimes of persons who try to live above their means.
Yes, we have quite a bit. This is very prevalent.
Yes, we have some of those. And we have situations where even the children themselves, they're looking at their peers and seeing what they have, and feel like they have a longing for the same thing that their peers have. And that can contribute to the stress that they experience looking at on social media, and wanting to have to fit in, and in doing that, that contributes to the pressure, on the financial burden also, so this is real.
I mean, but a child. Let's just take a child, a school child. You're sent to school and possibly expecting to do a particular level based on reputation or other family members, and you have some difficulty in focusing and concentrating. But the parent now is trying to force you to do to a particular level, maybe A grade, B grade, that's the level. But then the intellectual capacity is not there. And the child keeps struggling and do not know how to deal with it. Just this morning, I saw on social media, why is it so difficult to tell people about your problem? And the answer was right there on Facebook. It is because your business will be on the road.
That happens sometimes, Anwarix, but it's when you speak, if you speak to the wrong
The
person.
wrong people.
Yes. I always say to people, it's okay. You don't need to have many people to speak to. You just need one person. And you have to ensure that whoever that person is, when you speak to them, the information that you're giving them, they can use it to help you. That's one of the things I always say. You understand? It's not a matter of just speaking to every and anybody. It has to be somebody that you trust, somebody who can make a difference, and somebody who can is confidential.
Something we do very often and can also affect our mental health. We spend so much time on social media and not even realizing that it affects our mental health.
Well, that too, but we have to say social media is not always negative. You know, we
Yes.
have the positive and we have the negative
Yes.
aspect of social media.
But how does one balance?
Well, that is what you have to do. You have to be able to strike the balance, because being on social media, you're looking at you're idolizing what you see on social media. Then you start feeling depressed or even anxious when you compare what you see on social media to yourself. So that's one of the disadvantages of looking at, engaging in activities on social media. Another thing is the body image. You look on social media and you see persons looking in a particular way. You start comparing them, with how you look and what can I do, and then you start having issues. You start having body dysmorphia. Another thing that you can have is cyberbullying.
Cyberbullying.
Yes, well,
This is real.
it is. It is. You go on, so spend so much time on social media, and you start getting threats, etc. Because of this. And how do you deal with it? It causes mental issues also. And one of the things, especially that affects the adolescents, is when they spend a lot of time on social media. They stay up late at nights. They start having sleep disturbances. Then they go to school, they falling asleep on them, they cannot concentrate, they cannot perform at school. That's another problem that we see in when you see, as a result of adolescents spending time on social media. They get withdrawn, they interact less, the person to person interaction, then they start having less social skills, and so it's just one cycle to the next. It's like a domino effect when that happens. So we need to be able to balance this. I mean, yes, it's true that on social media you can.
It's the thing. It's the end thing. And you want to be part of what's happening. You want to know what's going on.
You learn. You
learn.
You can learn.
But
things,
then getting addicted to it can be dangerous.
That's another problem, because when the platforms, the social media platforms, they are addictive. When you have notifications and alerts, the teenagers, they'll be tuned to those notification and those alerts, and the minute they run to this. So what you find is like they focus, they're addicted to this thing, this gadget, waiting for that alert and then for them to go. And what's going to happen? You're going to have decrease in productivity. You're going to have decrease in their other functioning in other aspects of their lives, because that will be the most important thing to them. Okay, so these are some of the problems that we face, and research has also shown that persons who spend a lot of time on social media, they have a higher risk of using substances.
Wow.
Yes, so research has shown that also. So it's important that we balance those things. We have to ensure, have a time frame, as to when you do and when you don't, what you do, how you do it, and we need to encourage our children to socialize a bit more. We need to encourage them to have more face-to-face contact, Because yes, I know that's what we're going through, but we always need to strike a balance.
Because this is I mean extremely difficult, and it is something that we don't discuss very often. Since the advent of social media, we have less face-to-face interaction with the children. They are more into the gadgets, and they spend so much time into the gadgets, and not realizing that this may be affecting them. And I even understand even their eyesight. At some point in time, it may affect their eyesight, their concentration,
Totally.
and because of so many hours and lack of sleep, they may even get anxiety and not realizing that, and the parent may not even notice their child is spending so much time on that gadget. Some people spend up to three-quarters of the day on social media. And how do you encourage, especially young people, to deal with it? Because it's the in thing. I mean, everyone is into it, but then to limit it to a certain extent.
Exactly, and that's what is important. We again saying that striking that balance, getting them to understand the effects that those things that this has on them, and it's when it comes to a lot of times I believe that we as parents we don't play our part as we should. And this start from it didn't just start now. When children 2 3 years from the time we put them in front of a gadget and we leave them so that they can be distracted and for you to do things, guess what, that child is going to grow up in this. That will be the child's socialization.
Yeah.
So it has to start from early. It's not waiting until the child is a teenager for you to try to curb this. It has to start from much earlier. You have to realize, get children in where the things of before we used to go out and play, interact with each
Games,
other, and
physical
we need
games,
to start doing
round
this
the
again.
skip.
We need to start doing this again. Wadix. This is not this has the importance of this has decreased significantly. And I mean, we just have to look at the impact, the negative impact that it's having on our youth and our children, and that should motivate us enough to try to make a difference and try to limit this, try to set boundaries, and have bans on certain parts, certain things that you can look at and what you can't look at. All that we need to put in place, but it's not happening.
Support systems, which is very, very critical.
Support system. That's another. And when we talk about support, we speak of support from every aspect.
Yeah.
Support from family, support from friends, support from colleagues. We also speak of family dynamics. This is an issue, Alex, where a lot of times, especially when it comes to family dynamics, you have different parenting styles. You have the way certain expectations, parent expectations, and you have men are supposed to play a particular role, women are supposed to play a particular role, and this fixed role association that can contribute to so much stresses and depression. Now, when you have conflict amongst family members, one person not speaking to another, and remember the child is in the middle of this, huh? The child is in the middle of this. The child love all members of the family. They love both sides. Yet the child is seeing this conflict. What do you think is going to happen with that child?
Child will grow up with that sort of tangent and sort of
Exactly. And it will affect the child will start feeling that it's their fault, because if I am the link between
both
of us
families.
and this is happening, that's what I'm going to start blaming myself. And then what? Maybe if I'm not there, that will not happen.
So they start to think suicide.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Or you have the children because of what is said to the children. We've had cases where when a mother will look at a child and say, the child will say, I feel I want to kill myself. And the mother will say, well, you can go ahead and kill yourself. That's one less split. One less, yes, they say that.
They say that.
Yes. We have this.
Parents in Dominica say that.
Yes,
That your
yes.
child come to you and tell you,
That's one
I will
less
kill
person to
myself, and the
kill.
mother is responding, one less plate.
Yeah. So this, or when you have the parent saying to the child, I should have aborted you.
Oh.
Or I should have given you up for adoption.
Yeah.
Or
and parents in Dominica, this is real.
It is. Or parents say, you're a disappointment. Listen, when you say this to a child, it goes deep.
Deep, yeah.
It goes deep. And no matter, time, months, years pass, and they remember this. When they sit and they think of this, so Alex, this contributes to them feeling so worthless.
Because it may not affect them immediately. They may pass through school and they may be on the employment chamber and maybe going through some challenges with their employment, and they suddenly start to feel worthless.
Yes.
And that same memory, the parents pushing in that child's head, is now reoccurring its ugly head and affecting the child.
Yes. So a lot of times it happened even like few months, 3 years, and when they and again, I have the cases coming after they attempt suicide.
Wow.
And
it's always after they come to you.
Because that's when I will see them when they come afterwards. And in disclosing that, that's when the child will say, but remember when you told me this?
Yes.
And it would be how many? It's like, but mommy, even if that's a long time, yes, but that hurts.
Yes.
We all get angry as parents, but we have to remember what we say
to our children
is going to impact the child. They cannot deal with stressors, they cannot deal with difficulties like we adults. They're still very vulnerable. We need to protect them. So
are we doing a very good job, Dr. Wallace, in protecting our children? I know your position may be sensitive, but I must come to it. I must come to it. Just recently we saw the advent of entertainment music. It's called what is the name? You like this. That's the business. And we allowed our children to get involved. It was on the buses, it was in the playgrounds, it was even in the classes. And no one in authority constantly felt it was an ill. Now, these children are going to grow up believing it is okay. We may not see the effect now. We may not feel the effect now. But doctor, one of those days it is going to come back and haunt us. This exposure to profanity, to sexual explicit. And if we know how we were raised, I even think it is still illegal to have, I remember growing up, you couldn't have a sex book. And you couldn't have any videos. It used to be videos before it was prohibited. So I'm not sure if these laws were abandoned, why we just allow that infiltration. And I had some difficult times with this because I was an advocate against it. My life was threatened. People planned to mash me up and mash up my face because I felt there's a time and place for everything. And exposing our children to this, we will not see the direct impact now. But children are going to believe that this is okay. Their parents are enjoying it. Social media is swamped with it. It is now the biggest song and entertainment. It was in our carnivals, in our face, various activities for family members. It was there all in our face. It was just there. And no one felt it was very important to actually protect the children from this. Your opinion, doctor? Candy.
So, Alex, as you rightly said, there is a time and place for everything. And we have to, as parents, we have to be responsible. The value system that we had that existed, it has just been thrown out. We have lost the value that we had before. And it's, guess what? It's been infiltrated to our children. We have to realize our children, they are products of their socialization. And
Repeat this because this is very important.
yes,
Our children,
they are products of their socialization. You know,
very critical.
and when they're molded into this, when they are socialized into this, guess what? That's what they see from young. It's inculcated in them from young. They're going to grow up and have the very same thing that they were used to, because to them it's normal. To them it's okay. But we have to realize again, a child is not the same as an adult. The way the child will process things, it's not the same. The child does not have that maturity for them to make responsible decisions and to do things to protect themselves. We as adults, we are the ones who are charged with that responsibility.
And it also affects our spirituality.
It
The
affects
chain, the
everything.
command, the link, it affects, you can see in it, less children are going to church, less children are observing the biblical values. And I mean, we have that main, I'm not sure which verse, you can maybe look it up for me. Train a child in the way he should go, that when he's old enough, he will not depart from it. And I mean, we have this as a guide, but yet still we allow, like, as if, well, it's like everything, all values, all morality is just out,
It is scared. It's all of
and we are now drunk. What is the verse, Sean? You can tell us the verse, Proverbs 22, man. Train up a child in the way he should go, that when he's old enough. It's like as if things that are important to us are now nothing. And it is the sad part of it, it is replaced by profanity, it is replaced by immorality. And it's a norm. It's like no big thing, you know. Our Lenten values are now no more. Even if you're not a Catholic, but you will respect after Carnival, you would kind of temper down, reflect a little. But it is non-stop bacchanal. It is non-stop bacchanal. I mean, and then when our young people don't have the disposable now to attend these various activities, to keep up with the brand names, to keep up with their social standings, then they get frustrated, then they get depressed. Peer pressure, your friend have whatever, and you can't have it. Pressure is building up.
Or they engage in activities that put them in trouble.
Lots of trouble.
Yes,
we can say it straight. They end up in drugs. We can say it. We shouldn't be afraid to say it. They end up in the guada trade. We shouldn't be afraid to say it. And then when they go in the guada trade, we ain't how many of them coming back in a box. No, it is real. It is real, and it's high time we start to face those things. It's a breakdown of society.
Yes, and the thing is, we as adults, we see that, and we say nothing about
Nothing.
We say nothing. We do nothing.
By the way, the lines is now 11:50. We always wanted to set the foundation. So if anyone want to make a contribution, you could call us. You just give us the numbers. Okay, to call us and interact with Dr. Nadia Wallace. And she is the consultant psychiatrist at the Acute Psychiatric Unit. And she's our special guest as we touch on a very sensitive topic that for some reason we are scared to discuss. I'm not sure why. So you could give us a call. What are the numbers?
All right, the numbers are 449-3095-9697. If you're calling from a DG cell phone, 616-4257. And if you're calling from the overseas line, 305-432-9624.
Okay, you can interact with Dr. Wallace. Depression, I believe, now is on a rampage.
It is a fact. It is a fact. And that has started both depression and anxiety disorder.
Both in one.
Yes, they have both increased. And again, within our Dominica setting, we've seen that it started from tropical storm Erica.
Should we take our first call? Okay, let's take our first call. Good morning to you for Nadia, Dr. Nadia Wallace. This is Creole Habit. Good morning. We'll get back to depression and disorder.
Program?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I want to commend both Warwick, the ambassador and the princess, and of Canas, and also Dr. Wallace for the tremendous job you have been doing, not only today, but in the past.
Thank you very
It's
much.
a very interesting program for which I'm enjoying the learning.
Thank you very much,
And
sir.
I want to agree with you on practically everything you've said. I just wanted to add that, yes, what the parents need to do a little more in detail is to monitor the activities of these children on the gadget. Because I'll tell you what, there are pros and cons. I have two nephews in the United States of America. And these guys, they are computer savvy. They are good. One is actually now studying science, computer science. And these guys, their parents monitor them when they were going to school, when they were young. And, give them an hour to do their thing after their homework and so on and monitor them. And there's always a good learning curve because when I go to the States sometimes and the TV I see, I do not know how to do A, B, and C, and these little boys, they'll just come and, so they're very savvy. But what we have lost, we have gotten so modern that we have forgotten the old tradition where people monitor the activities of their children and they just leave them to the gadget. And then 2 little boys in the United States the other day, they saved the lives of 200 people on a plane because they had their how they call it, their simulators at home, and they wanted to become pilots. And their mother bought this thing for them, at their spare time, and they would do and so on. And then when the 2 pilots collapsed in the cockpit, an hour before the plane landed, this little boy told the air hostess when she was panicking that we know about this thing. They couldn't believe it. And so it has its pros and cons. But yes, and I believe the question, people are afraid to talk about that. You see all this drug business and all this smoking and people saying, oh, you can smoke a herb and you can do that. I believe all these things are contributing with the pressures of the world, the stress and the strain, of what is happening around us. And as you say, sometimes people they have big ideals and ideas and they cannot fulfill them. And then they just, collapse into that thing. But it's a very good program. I can go on and on, but I want somebody else.
Thank you very much, Kola. Just take the notes, Dr. Nadia Wallace. Yes, we are just trying to, collate and network and bring the information to you as it unfolds. We are dealing with mental health this morning. More calls for Dr. Nadia Wallace. Good morning.
Good morning, Prince Waddix, and good morning to
Dr. Nadia Wallace. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Dr. Wallace.
Good morning.
I want to thank you, Waddix, for your constant, perpetual, innovative way of being able to tap into the resources that we have to touch on some very pertinent, real subject. And I must say you are fearless in touching on very, very sensitive subject. And scarcely we find professional people coming out of their profession. So we have to give kudos to, Dr. Wallace for coming out of her profession, on a business day, to give her time to a very, very sensitive subject. And one of the things I want to touch on, Waddix, is something that I've been campaigning against for a long time. I've been a custodian against it, and that is since the advent of Playboy and Game Boy, Waddix, our little boys don't go to the field.
Yeah, that's correct.
Play the field anymore.
Yes, that's true.
And that is something I've been looking for soldiers. I've been looking for disciples to help me to get children out of their homes and go on the playing field and express yourself.
Yeah.
Parents just leaving children with a gadget and thinking something good. And that is one of the main reasons why we have a social decay. We have a social crisis. Just mainly, we just have a social mess because of some of those very important pillars in our society that we have lost.
Thank you very much, caller. Very, very pertinent point there. Let's take in another caller for Dr. Nadia Wallace, and then we can allow Doctor to respond to the areas of concerns. Good morning to you, Creole Heartbeat.
Hey, I'm Dr. Dr.
Good morning to you, sir. How are you? The only doctor there is Dr. Nadia Wallace.
Dr. Wallace. Let me say thanks for everything, Wallace.
Yes.
Dr. Wallace, blessings to you.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
I had an appointment. Dr. Abel referred me to go to Dr. Wallace.
So you should come.
So you should come.
But I went there to tell me, oh, the referral or whatever it is, there's a fire. The same day was raining so much water, so I could not leave the casualty to come by the psychiatric ward now.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I was telling them about years I going through what I going through, and it, you know, it's beginning to get to me. I really get a bit stressed out and frustrated. They said, go for Dr. Wallace to come. I said, I so want to see who's Dr. Wallace. What is this? You think I can see her on my phone?
Of course, man. If you hook up to QFM Facebook page, you will see how beautiful she is, elegant, beautiful, seem to be getting younger.
What is, do not say all of that. That's not why I come in and see her. Let me just say something quickly, Dr. Wallace. Thanks for your time. I've heard of you. You know, there was a clinical psychologist or psychiatrist or psychiatrist at the Wealthy. I brought my son to. I think she was Jamaican. But I am saying, years ago, I seem to have stood alone when that whole introduction of the rights of the child, the rights of the child, the rights. I was saying, where the rights of parents?
Yeah.
That is sowing a dangerous seed in the minds of children where the rights of the child, so the American and European style, or if I watch it to have, that is what, optical abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has domestic abuse, financial abuse, emotional abuse, and I want you to have, what are you going to report me? Optical abuse.
If you watch that.
So we go and just imitate every garbage. We just talk about the prevalence, the high prevalence or presence of pornographic material.
Yeah.
And what is according what you do say, what is on social media, they block you.
Yes, that's
but
correct.
The same technology allowing you to invite all kind of nastiness on your phone. What are their intentions? And do we have a choice to even follow them? But we have the technology to restrict them, particularly where our children are concerned. How many parents that is going to say, well, let me go to Dr. Wallace or whatever, or go to some tech person or whatever, and teach me how to restrict them on their phone or whatever. And even the bad, the so-called foods, the processed foods, how it can impact people psychologically, apart from the constant staring and scrolling for hours. Then you have to be playing cricket and have the phone in your back pocket. So you're going to catch a ball. Your phone rang, you forget the catch, and you're going to answer the phone.
Yeah.
The whole world gone mad.
Yeah.
Dr. Wallace have to come and see her. Make an appointment to come and check you, darling. Blessings and thanks for your time. Sing what it, thanks for everything. Thanks for your sacrifices as well. God blessings. Take care.
Thank you very much. We're going to hold the lines for like a while. Let Dr. Wallace respond because some very interesting points coming up there. Diet is one. The game, I think the Game Boys play ball. They call them again. DJ Shan. The young boys get so caught up in this, you cannot get them to do anything else. And exercising and diet and this thing is so important.
Yes. So again, the games, it does cause addiction. It's similar to gambling.
Yes.
You know, and they get so involved in this. It's like they lose control. It takes control of them. And in the process, everything else suffers. Even their grooming, you know, taking care of themselves. And while they're doing this, they don't take time to eat healthily. So they'll be eating junk while they're doing this.
Exactly what the caller just mentioned too. And this is also a contributing factor to mental health. What you eat, your diet.
Totally. Our diet is important also. That's one of the factors because depending on what you eat, you can have an increased risk of suffering from certain mental illnesses. And persons don't know that and they don't believe that, but it's a fact because earlier I mentioned mental illness, there are so many contributing factors and it's broad, it's not any one. You know, so that's why in managing a mental illness,
no problem.
That's why in managing a mental illness, we need to take into consideration all those factors: your diet, your biological predispositions, the social stressors, the psychological stressors, and the list go on. and all.
Okay, Sean wanted to just make a point there.
Okay, yeah. Just to sidetrack, I'm not normally a outspoken person that much, but I was just sidetracking back to where you say the back to Carnival and the
Yeah,
lantern,
the brick.
the brick. I try to figure out if it's something that it's trying to challenge authority, or is it just like people just fed up of the norms of life, and then they tend to challenge authority, because I mean carnival, as we know, is reveling. Then if we could revel for Monday and Tuesday, and Ash Wednesday you're asking us now to take a break from Ash Wednesday, you're asking us to take a break from the reveling. After we do all those reveling and whatever stuff you might get indulged in during that Monday and Tuesday, during that reveling time. And then you're asking us on Ash Wednesday to take a break from all that. So I try to wonder if it's something that people tend to challenge authority and maybe just fed up of the norms of life.
Not basic. It's uh, a Catholic stuff where we celebrate Carnival pre-Lenten. And then Ash Wednesday. That's why we are one of the very few countries, Trinidad, Brazil, the French Islands, Haiti. We still do the pre-Lenten. Some of the other carnivals have been shifted.
Right.
So our carnivals are pre-Lenten to climax. So those days, Ash Wednesday with Tewe Vaval. But then in the Catholic calendar, you are expected after the reveling and all that and the eating of meat to go for a period of reflection and stay of sacrifice. And now you prepare now for the Lenten season to climax with the resurrection.
Yeah, because
But then you see, one of the things we have to understand too, every day cannot be party. Every day cannot be jump up and bacchanal. And that is one of the things we have to understand. Even if we are not Catholics, after we party from December, from independence, I mean, we need a break. Even our pockets need a break, because you're spending from independence to Christmas to Carnival, and you need to get yourself together. When you set those kind of examples of non-stop CO to the children, what you expect them to grow up with? How are they going to get the finances to accommodate all the parties that are going on non-stop? How are they? So some of them will resort, and maybe Dr. Nadia will, maybe afraid to say it, they will resort to selling themselves.
Yeah.
Some of them will sell themselves. Some of them will do things that they're not supposed to do. They will get into drugs, and these are some of the things that we're seeing. And when some of them cannot handle the pressure, they kill themselves.
Yeah, because that's
a breakdown.
Yeah, that's why I bring it up, because some people might be saying that if you ask us to party for Monday and Tuesday, and you're asking us Ash Wednesday to stop and take a break, then why not just go ahead? I just saying.
No, but even in the Bible tell you could have how many days to do whatever you're doing and at least one day rest. But it doesn't look like we want to rest in Dominica.
Yeah, so that's why I bring up the point of challenging authority.
But then there are other ills, but we will take this after. Let's take in a few more calls to Dr. Nadia Wallace. Good morning to you, Creole Heartbeat.
Peace and blessings, my brother friend, and peace and blessings, Dr. Wallace.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, this is such a great show, and I so appreciate that you all are bringing the show forward. This is Empress. And
Hi, Empress.
as a criminal justice, preventative measures for youth, and I'm worked as an educator in the school system for many years. So many of the issues that you're bringing forth to the table right now is so much, and though I work in the school system in the United States, but so much of the same issues goes on over there that I dealt with, actually, even as an educator, dealing with the youth. And there's so many issues that goes on at home that children come to school and they bring it to school. Yeah. And you figure, and especially I worked with the youth that are basically borderline, those that are on a second chance because they couldn't make it through the regular school system. So they had them in the second chance, aspect of the school. And so many of the same issues. I've had young people that come to me, whether they're telling me they're gay or whether they're telling me that they've been touched by a parent or they're suicidal, or I've had a youth come to me and said to me she wants to have an abortion because she can't go to her parents to tell her parents that, she's pregnant. And then now as an educator, then you try to find that line because first of all, you're mandated reporters, when you work in the school system. So there are certain things you have to report. But at the same time, they want to feel confident in you to come to you and to speak to you about what's going on at home. And I think so many times parents aren't parenting anymore.
Sure.
And when we speak of the social media, and especially because I was still in the school system after COVID, right? And after COVID now, during the whole COVID, system and period, that many now of the children had to be on their gadgets. So there are so many parents who may not be aware of how to use certain aspects of technology. So now the children are on the gadgets. The children are watching things they shouldn't be watching. They're pressing on pop-ups that they don't even know. And now that they press on it, so now it's in their phone. They have naked people. They have pornography. They have all sorts of things. So parents now, because parents have just left it to either to the school system to parent their children or to the gadgets to parent their children, and they're not really taken. And even in the school system, they had certain classes for the parents to come to learn about the technology and how to do parental controls on their phone, how to, they're now the, what do you call them? The acronyms or the things that the children have now that they can see parents are watching or parents are here.
Oh, man.
So smart. These children are so smart that they
yes, they would sell the parents.
Over my shoulder. And now parents are now playing an active role in monitoring what the children are watching. They're lost. And then now on the criminal justice system, we see that pipeline. We see that how children are getting involved in stuff because even for a period of time, there were other youth that were getting into some criminal, entities where they have people sending them money through the internet or they're getting into certain scams. Scams out there. And then now they end up being arrested. And, and I had my children at that time, my children are older, but they have friends or they have younger brothers, on their father's side who were.
I tell you what, Empress, I'm going to invite you very shortly so we can look at the other side of some of the ills, because I really want us to face this head on as a society and stop sweeping this under the carpet and making it feel like as if everything is okay. And when we know everything is okay, we are alarmed that another young person committed suicide. So I tell you what, let us relax, meet, and let us see how we can program ourselves to come back and continue to educate this nation about some of our ills. Okay, my dear?
Absolutely. Thank you. And have a blessed day. And keep on doing what you're doing because it needs to be a repetitive thing that parents need to keep on hearing it. And our community needs on hearing it because our youth are in trouble.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much, Dr. Wallace. I appreciate, the information you're bringing forward. And someday maybe we can have another sit down. And thank
of course. Of course. I have to see how we can book up maybe for next Friday. We have some more calls coming from Dr. Wallace. Good morning to you, Creole Heartbeat.
Hi, Brother Waddick.
Dr.
Wallace.
Hi.
Good morning.
Would Dr. Wallace care to share with us, the public, since the introduction of the bill that allowed one to have up to 3 plants of marijuana in their backyard and to allow them a certain leeway of smoking at their homes, is there any data, any analysis that has been shared with the police? Hey, the psychiatric units have now seen an increase of 30%, 40% of psychotic individuals. Can we prove that that was an okay bill to allow? Because, I'm aware of certain individuals when they do take that marijuana, they're just not themselves. They just go crazy. And I would like to know, what is the psychiatric unit saying to the public? I've never heard that if there's a 30-40% increase in psychotic individuals arriving at the unit. Have a blessed day.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nadia. I'm not sure if you want to answer.
So I would just say to the caller that we need to stop focusing just on marijuana. We need to focus on the psychoactive substances, of which marijuana is one of them.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not marijuana in particular.
No, it's not just that. It's just,
and especially what they do with the marijuana, they spike the marijuana, add all sorts of.
Right, and there are different factors again that contribute to this.
But then, is there an increase?
What we know for a fact, though, and it's a fact, is that again, as I said, persons, there are risk factors to suffering from mental illness. One of them is the young brain and the insults of psychoactive substances. There is an increased risk of persons suffering with psychosis when they're young and they use the psychoactive substances. So that's a fact. Mm-hmm. And it's not just that, there are other factors. If the person has family history of mental illness, then they're young, they use the psychoactive substance, all that increase their risk. Then you add another risk factor. Let's say the person was born prematurely. That again is another risk factor. Then again, you might find another risk factor of their diet. And, so even when you add all those things, so it's not only one factor that contributes to psychosis, but you have to take into consideration all of them.
Doctor, another very sensitive one. We have seen the an upsurge in vagrants. Mm-hmm. In the city in particular. I am not even sure where they're from now. I could identify from which part of Dominica a few used to be from, but it has been tripled of late.
So Dominica is not the only country where you see this happening, where someone who suffers from a mental illness and they're treated, they will tend to gravitate towards the city, because when they're there, they're able to get things easier. They're able to get food easier because there is a bigger population. You have more activities. So what you'll find happening is persons, instead of returning to their community, they will stay in the city. Yes. So that's why you will find that there's an increase of persons, of vagrants on the streets of Rosewood.
How do we deal with that, doctor? I mean, they are ill.
So yes, they are ill. And we need to recognize that the person is ill.
And is a human being.
All of us, we all need to play our part. All as in the family, the community, and the society by extension. Because when someone is ill, it does not only affect that person, but it affects all of us. But when the family member, they have their negative attitude, the stigma towards mental illness, or they have their cultural beliefs towards persons who they see have mental illness, and they don't play their part, guess what? That person is going to be left all on their own.
Yeah.
And when the person's all on their own, they will have to do all these different activities, get involved in all these different things so that they can survive. But if we as family members, we play our part. If we as a community, we play our part. If we as society, we play our part. Another thing that I always speak of, I'm addicts, and I really hope something is done about it, is the importance of the importance of having mental health, including mental health, in the school curriculum.
Perfect.
I think this is so important.
As a subject?
It is, yes. You know why? Because by doing this, we'll be getting the children to be sensitized to the issues of mental health and mental illness from very young. So as a result, it will be easier for them to recognize the signs when there is a mental illness, recognize the signs and take action, but do it in a way that makes them feel comfortable, because there will be less stigma associated to it, because there'll be a change of attitude, and with that, people will feel more comfortable going to get help. They'll feel more comfortable presenting themselves when they recognize the symptoms. They'll be able to identify them and communicate with the family and others. And I think that would make a big difference. But you understand what I'm saying?
The way it is presently, it's kind of closed up.
It's closed.
And it is too closed up, where children are fearful, they are stigmatized.
Yes.
Dr. Wallace, can we make a date for next week Friday? I know you're a busy woman, because I haven't touched on post-traumatic stress disorder, eating disorders, disruptive behavior, social environment. We haven't even touched on substance abuse, mental health and addictions, which is so prevalent in Dominica, examining family dynamics, even healthy relationships, and even cultural norms. Because when you hear somebody, we say mad, if crazy, is like the person is an outcast. And we tend to forget that that person is somebody's child. That person is somebody's mother, somebody's brother, somebody's sister. And then the most important thing, how do we as a society care for that person? Are these vagrants must be sleeping on the roads? Do we have a place where we can bring them? How can we treat them? How can we deal with them? How can we mitigate what's happening to them? These are things that are truly concerning. So do we have a date? Not for next week Friday, maybe for the following one. Okay, thank you very much, Nadia. You can see the calls are coming in. So not for next week, but then for the following week, and we can understand why she is, the resident, not resident, but the acute, the consultant psychiatrist at the acute psychiatric unit. So that
there's already an appointment for that day.
Okay, no problem. But you could see how important it is, Dr. Wallace. We need to face this. And you can look at the phones. The phones are going.
There is so much more we can talk about. We have not touched. We've just done a third of what we need to speak of. And we need to continue doing this, because I believe the more education, the more awareness there is on issues of mental health and mental illnesses, it's better we will be as a society. We'll have a shift of attitudes, we'll have less discrimination. People will embrace this, and that's what we have to do. We have to embrace this and accept it as something that is real. But not only that, but something that can be improved, something that can be treated if all of us play a role.
Is there a hotline for the acute unit?
There is a number.
There is a number. Mm-hmm. So that one can just pick up and call. Yeah. And they will receive assistance.
And then whenever they do, we'll give them guidance. Because again, Wadix, we have.
Do you do on the phone? What you call it, on the phone? Or you call it this tele?
Well, not in that setting.
Not in that
because
sense.
The acute psychiatric unit, we use the Mental Health Act to govern what is done there, and based on the Mental Health Act, a person really needs to be referred to us
to the unit by somebody else. You can't go on the road and treat.
It's illegal.
It's illegal to do this according to the Mental Act.
Yes. Persons have to be referred to us by a doctor, either in the district or the health center. So when persons call us all the time,
seeking
guidance as to how to get the help, we'll just direct them, tell them what they need to do.
I hope that our following edition, we can get into the steps to how one can actually go through to get that help. But doctor, once again, I want to thank you. Time is up. We have to get set for the news major, but I really want to thank you for taking some time off. I know you're extremely busy getting you here. It took us months to get you here.
That's true.
And you're in demand. I also want us to do a program with Franklin one of those days.
Anytime.
I think he has gone rock bottom and has been really spiraling now. He's even taller than the financial center. And I'm so proud of this brother. But then you see, we need some of those experiences so we can share with people that may be depressed. Because whether we like it or not, depression is on a rise in Dominica.
It is.
Depression is on a serious rise. And it is. We are now feeling the effects of depression Doctor, thank you very much. God bless you. We'll see you two weeks time.
Being here. Yes.
Okay, this was another Creole Heartbeat program with Dr. Nadia Wallace and Prince Wadix. The News Major comes up next on Q95 FM.
We thanking you. We thanking